Hello, my friends, and welcome to Gamers Tell All, an interview series where I talk to other creative types on the YouTube platform about the affect that games can have on people and their potential. And today I have with me Tom O'Regan. Tom, can I have you introduce yourself?
Oh God, can you? My name is Tom, and I talk about video games on the internet in a stunning turn of events.
And what got you motivated to start making video essays on YouTube about games?
It's a weird one, actually. Have you ever played this game called Lisa the Painful?
No, I don't think I've even heard of it.
So it's this sort of indie RPG thing, and I played it years and years and years back, and I really, really liked it. And then I went online to see, I wonder what other people thought about this, and I wanted to hear analyses and discussions and all that kind of stuff about it. And all the videos I could find were just plot recaps. And that's the first thing they tell you not to do in English class, is if you're doing an essay on Macbeth, don't tell me what happened in Macbeth. I'm the teacher, I've read Macbeth, I know what fucking happens in Macbeth.
But what does happen in Macbeth? I know it's like a story about laundry, right?
It's got to be something about that.
That lady cleans something for a long time. So it's laundry. It's a laundromat
It is.
story.
You cracked the code. It is actually a rom-com in a laundromat. Is Macbeth.
Macbeth is a rom-com.
But so that really annoyed me. So I was like, maybe I should make videos. But then another YouTuber called H Bomber Guy made a really, really good video on Lisa the Painful, which is exactly what I was looking for. So then I was like, oh, fuck it, maybe not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and
you can't compare yourself to H Bomber Guy.
My God, he's so fucking
He does
talented.
the most detailed analyses on this entire platform. You can't expect to compare with that man.
So I had the basic outline for a script, or just kind of a loose idea of what I wanted to talk about. Then I saw that, and I was like, I needn't bother. But the seeds were sown at that stage. After that, it was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I have noticed that plot recaps are extremely popular on YouTube, and I'm not sure if that's because they're a medium for comedy, for the YouTuber to crack jokes about something that people enjoy, or if it's because sequels come out and lots of people don't want to have to buy or play the previous game in order to enjoy the current new thing. But I have noticed that, plot recaps seem to be the bulk of analysis videos.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the cynic in me that was that's leaning more towards, it's just low effort content that's not difficult to produce. I actually made a couple of drunk plot recaps as sort of like an internal rebellion against that, or parody even of it, where I would just get shit-faced and try to explain what happens in a video game.
But maybe the secret is that all the other plot recap videos are in fact also drunk.
Oh, maybe we're all just making fun of each other.
Yeah. It's Inception.
The plot
A YouTube
thickens.
rabbit hole.
And I shall need to have that thickened plot recapped to me 37 times by every single person on fucking YouTube.
Alright. Well, I also, before we get started on the topic at hand, I do like to highlight what I find entertaining about any of my guest channels. And for you, Tom,
Ooh,
the
feed
first
me your
video...
compliments.
Yes, I'm going to make you more powerful with positive words.
Lend me your energy.
And here you were talking before the interview that you don't know anime references. You pull out a Dragon Ball reference like it's nothing.
Hey, look, Dragon Ball isn't anime, it is art, alright?
Oh, you're going to make a lot of weebs on my channel angry with a sentence like that.
That's your comment section that's fucked. I'm fucking in the clear, man.
Alright. So the first video of yours that I watched was actually that video on piracy in video games. And what I loved about that video was, for one, it's a topic in the gaming industry in general, And you don't really see that too often. People like myself tend to just focus on a specific game and not go that broad. But you were, at the same time, you covered both of the prevalent sides of the argument. You made your position on it extremely clear. And the whole time, it was just fucking hilarious. I was laughing my ass off through the whole video, and it was like, yeah, I mean maybe it's just because I've had all of those exact arguments, and I've even made, like, for myself, I've made a what would you call it? A devil's advocate argument for pirating anime, and what, like, specifically what makes for a good anime piracy site that you want to support. Namely that you want to have someone that follows Crunchyroll's model and can become a legit business in the future, not one that will never be legit because piracy is too profitable. And that was a weird video to make.
Yeah, it's funny, like, I feel like you're giving me an awful lot of credit on that. I mostly made that video so I could crack jokes on why pirating is good and also when pirating is bad. I feel like that's my angle for any time I sit down to write a script, is I'll come up with a topic and it's literally just a vessel for me to try and crack jokes. So I feel you've given me far more credit than I deserve in, like, my elegance in tackling both sides. Like, I was talking shite, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Take the compliment.
I will take the compliment. Thank you.
All right. But I will say that then the other video that impressed me, and I mentioned this to you before, was your video on menus in games and how you broke down all the different kinds. And believe it or not, that actually has a lot of utility for me, because one of the topics that I am very invested in is game literacy, and one of the difficulties in teaching people how to play a game is teaching them the concept of menus and how to navigate menus to get information about how the game is played and how to improve whatever they're engaging with, because it's very unintuitive. And it's not in front of them. It's something that they have to manifest with a button they have to memorize. And the detail of it gave me a lot of ideas for how I can introduce the concept of menus to people who have never played a video game before. And at the same time, your vessel for jokes had me laughing at how far you refused to talk about Persona 5 while also talking about Persona 5 the whole video.
Yeah, that's another video where, you know, the inspiration was, man, Persona 5 is really pretty. And that's literally, again,
yeah,
you're giving me a lot of credit here. It was,
deserved credit.
I just wanted to make jokes about how Persona 5 looks super good.
But you still delivered, like, real and helpful information. So don't underestimate the power of your jokes, sir.
You have... my Catholic guilt is stopping me from accepting your compliments outright. So I'm going to have to ask you to stop there, because it's making me uncomfortable to hear nice things about me and then not be called a bastard somewhere in between.
All right. As a person who is also raised by the cloth, I will be more offended if you don't take my compliment. So there's something else to feel guilty about.
Could you just say one negative thing about me just to put me at ease?
You're a lily-livered cocksucker.
Oh, I am a lily-livered cocksucker. I knew you were going to fucking say that as well. The second you were like, hey, Tom, do you want to do an interview? I was like, oh, he's going to call me a lily-livered cocksucker. I fucking knew it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
We're leaning into step on me, daddy territory, so maybe we should pull back. So, now that the preamble is out of the way and very many people are wondering what the hell they just got themselves into.
Yeah,
Tom,
you're what's it called when when people just drop off the video after like 4 minutes?
I have no idea.
I've tanked your views anyway. They're going to click on this video, hear me talk about nothing for 2 minutes, and go, yeah, this is fucking stupid.
Hey, my my most stated catchphrase, nowhere in my YouTube channel but in real life, is the dirtiest secret of life is that genius and idiocy are not mutually exclusive.
I did see someone on Reddit. I saw someone posting one of my videos. I can't remember which one on Reddit somewhere. And one of the comments said, he's like the most intelligent moron I've ever seen. And
you get to be both.
I have chosen to take that as a compliment, yeah.
It is. It is a compliment. You get all the bliss of being stupid and all the benefits of being smart. Just do both.
None of the responsibility of being intelligent, though, which is the...
Brush it off.
Yeah.
Brush that responsibility right out the house. Oh, gosh. Okay, so the topic at hand. The main question of this interview series is, what is the most important thing or significant thing you have learned from a video game? So, Tom, I'm going to ask you, what game are we going to be talking about today?
Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba.
In a stunning turn of events, for anyone who watches my channel, we are going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid 3.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yep,
That's
3. Right.
Now, remind me, was it 2 or 3 that was all fan service for people who played the previous games?
That's all of them that you've just described.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so... 3 is the one that's set, like, during the Cold War.
Ah, yes, okay. My father actually was in the U.S. Air Force during the Cold War.
Ooh, what was his...
Yes.
Where was he kind of stationed?
I think it is because he is allowed to tell me. I think it is okay for me to say he was working at the Titan II missile silo for a time, which is currently a deactivated nuclear missile silo that has been turned into a museum because the U.S. has a treaty with Russia that this and a few other silos have to be deactivated and left partially open so that satellites can periodically look over the missile silo and confirm that it is in fact deactivated using space cameras.
It's good to know that the Cold War ended in 1991, and all these years later, you're still spying on each other. Like, it's fucking...
the Cold War never ended.
Yeah.
It never ended. The country changed. It's not the Soviet Union anymore, but I mean, it didn't change that much.
Yeah.
It's still the Cold War.
You just kind of agreed to... You agreed to say that you're not in a war anymore, but the same shit is still going on.
Yes. And then there was some other role he had actually working at the White House in D.C. And there's a picture on one of our mantles of my father and my mother shaking hands with George Bush Sr.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, it's whether my family agreed with the politics of the time or not, it's pretty cool to have a father that worked in the White House.
That's fucking sick, man.
Yeah, not as a direct advisory role, but, a tertiary advisory role.
My dad voiced Kevin the Carrot in the Irish Christmas Aldi ads. So, we're the same thing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that basically national security at its finest.
National security,
you need
Kevin the Carrot.
Christmas ads.
Exactly.
You need Christmas ads to keep the public satiated, to keep them calm.
Yeah, similar levels you and I are working off of. Yeah,
absolutely equal. I salute your father.
I salute him too.
So Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh yeah, I was like, what the fuck are we talking about again?
This
is going to be the most fucking tedious interview. I am so bad at this.
No worries. Take a deep breath. You'll make it through. Say 2 Hail Marys
I'm just
and
so
an Our Father. Say the prayer before meals if you have to.
Well, the thing is, when you told me, when you're like, oh, so we're going to be talking about like what have you learned from a video game? I was like, that's such a fucking hard question to answer. It's like saying, hey, what have you learned from reading books?
Yep.
Do you know, like, where do you even begin? And I was trying to think, like, oh, sorry, just donkey punched my mic there.
Don't worry.
I was like, I've been playing Hades a lot. And now I know that, like, the 3 levels of the underworld are Tartarus, the Asphodel Metals, and Elysium. Is that a good answer? Do I talk about that? I know what fucking paraphernalia means because Alan Wake said it once. Like, I couldn't.
I just played Control, so I know about the most important thing in Alan Wake.
And what's that?
There is a coffee mug that never runs out of hot, delicious coffee.
Is that true?
Yes. There is a coffee mug in Alan Wake's world because it was an event in the world of Control, a separate event where a fictional character came to life. And an item in that game is a coffee mug that never runs out of fresh, delicious coffee.
Ooh, that's the dream.
That is the dream. I will happily accept all of the other world-ending, shattering chaos and nonsense if I can just always have a nice cup of joe.
If anyone who works at Remedy is listening to this for whatever fucking reason, dude, just make Alan Wake 2. Yeah. It's been over 10 years, man. Just give us Alan Wake 2. That's all I want.
All you need for Alan Wake 2 is to have Alan Wake laying low in a coffee shop.
With his infinite mug of coffee.
With his infinite mug of coffee. And it's a sim game.
Yeah,
and 12 a very casual,
to 16 hours of gameplay.
And yeah, a very casual, like, day in the life of your customers, kind of like a Papers, Please.
Exactly,
just cycles through, and that will be Alan Wake 2. So you have a good bridge to get you into Alan Wake 3, whatever you want to do.
Alan Wake 2 is just Alan Wake in a Starbucks with a typewriter and a scarf. Like, oh, I'm writing my new novel. It's going to be very big. Yeah.
Hey, it would be great if Alan Wake 2 could meet the author who invented him.
Oh, like that. They're definitely
canonically in world.
Definitely, if there was an Alan Wake 2, that would 100% be like a plot point.
They want to do that so hard.
What were we fucking talking about?
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Well, but barely.
We'll get there. I promise.
Well, so yeah, I suppose if we want to jump to Metal Gear Solid 3, in a similar, like, what are things that I have learned from consuming media? I was like, I basically only know what the Cold War is because I loved Metal Gear Solid 3 so much. And, like, I remember looking into it, like, Googling, going to Wikipedia and, like, watching a load of, like, history videos and stuff on it. And now, like, my brain is just full of weird miscellaneous Cold War facts for no reason that no one gives a shit about.
Give me a Cold War fact.
So, the whole "In God We Trust" thing. That's like printed on all American currency. That was basically... That was bought in at some point during the Cold War, and it was pretty much strictly propaganda against communist materialism. That was the primary purpose of it, and like
because formal communism under Marxism is atheistic at its core.
Pretty much,
it tries to reject religion,
and because America wanted to be the polar opposite, they were like, we're going to really double down on spiritualism. I guess would be the word for it. But even like today, that's still I want to say the slogan of America.
Yeah, it's the slogan of our money.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is, what America is built on.
Yeah. In money, we God.
In God, money me now, please God.
That's a prayer for the books.
But yeah, that was, I remember, like, and that's a weird thing for, like, like a 11, 12, 13-year-old kid to be Googling a bunch of, like, Cold War facts. And you might think, like, you might hear me saying that, like, oh, Tom must be a bit of a history buff. Like, no, I just really liked a video game where you fight a guy that shoots bees out of his hands. And so when I was looking at, like, history Wikipedias and stuff and really kind of doubling down on it was with the same mindset that you might, like, look at a Final Fantasy wiki, or you'd watch a Vati video to find a Dark Souls lore.
Yeah.
And it was like none of the stuff that I learned had anything to do with Metal Gear Solid 3, because, like, that the game is entirely fictitious. But I was just so interested in the setting that I started learning real world facts off the back of that.
So it was, I guess the significant thing is that the game, given that it placed itself in the real world, motivated you to go on some really significant tangential learning.
Yeah, well,
I think the formal term for it.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's the answer to the question. Is that, like, I don't want to sound like cheesy or hyperbolic, but, like, Metal Gear Solid 3, I was so interested in it that, like, I started, like, doing homework basically on my own accord because I thought something was interesting, and it basically, like, taught me how to teach myself. It taught me how to learn in an effective way.
I find that seems to be the case for, or at least that seems to be the goal for people who are trying to get video games into a classroom setting, because it's still seen and it's very apparent that kids are very smart at recognizing what is fun and what is a chore.
Yeah.
And even when you try to gamify education, kids will, like, respond to crappy educational games.
No one wants to play fucking Math Blasters. Like, that's not...
Okay, hold on. I love Math Blaster.
An avid defender of fucking Mavis Bacon's typing teacher.
I loved Math Blaster so freaking much when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
I competed with my siblings and my friends at Math Blaster because we liked it. And then I found out
a YouTube
later.
channel about how video games relate to philosophy. So you're clearly a giant fucking nerd.
Yeah, but none of my other friends turned into me, and they liked Math Blaster too.
That's because your other friends distanced themselves from you when they heard you like fucking Math Blasters, Alex.
I could never win. Why won't anyone believe me that Math Blasters was good?
You're going to die on that hill alone there, bud. I'm sorry to tell you.
But I'm going to freaking find a copy of Math Blaster and I'm going to stream it on Twitch and I'm going to become big and famous.
I'm going to be the new ninja.
Tom. Just you see, Tom.
But
I'll get 500 followers in a day.
What I was getting at is, like, sure, maybe Math Blasters being the pinnacle of education, that's a bad example. But people will generally find, if this is a video game that teaches you your ABCs, people can, like, see through that as just, this is just me learning my ABCs. But, like, how many people do you think finished the new God of War and then went down a rabbit hole of Norse mythology?
Well, that's an interesting question, because we have the context of our times, right? God of War was probably a lot of people's first introduction to Norse mythology, but at the same time, Nordic mythology has been so popular. It's been done a million times, and even Assassin's Creed is going to it as like the only fictional gods story setting to draw from.
It's just good, like, storytelling. I think it's good mythology.
It is good. And I feel like pretty much, like, because of Marvel and all these other things, there are a lot of people who've become more, educated on it. But
and
there are always different groups, right?
That's another good point, actually, because, like, you use the word educated there. But I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. Like, you only know what Mjolnir is because you watched Infinity War. Like, people get really snobby about how you learn stuff, which I think is, like... I think that's a real dickhead way to go about things.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
If you know that Baldur was killed by mistletoe and that was the beginning of Ragnarok, if you know that for no reason other than you played God of War. Sick. You know something today that you didn't know yesterday, and that is an objectively good thing.
Right. You know what was essentially the primal fear of all of Nordic culture, which was that
the
moment
end of the fucking
that
world,
starts the end of the world. And all of Nordic culture was just about how do we rage against the inevitable doom we're facing.
Yeah, and if there'll surely be the purists oh, well, you clearly don't know that it was all a ploy by Loki to, and you're like, dude, it does, that will come later. You learned something, and that's
but
cool.
Even then in God of War, it they take the aspect of the Loki myth and they're using it. They
dude,
turned
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I forgot the spoilers for God of War. I'd forgotten the whole Atreus' Loki thing, and he is the one who breaks the curse, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, in terms of where God of War goes next, they can do anything, inspired by, but outside of the Nordic myths, because they've already broken the cycle for what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Just by having Atreus be Loki, by having Loki be connected to someone outside of the Nordic pantheon of myth.
Man, I know this is another one of our famous tangents at this stage, but fucking hell, man, that is a great game.
I mean, that's the thing. I think I gotta wonder how many, because your question was how many people finished the game and then went and learned more about Nordic mythology, outside of just how much one can learn in the game itself. And I feel as though many people, pretty much anyone who bought that game probably finished it.
I know that, I went down I had, tangential knowledge of Norse mythology, but as soon as I started playing God of War, I was, looking into stuff.
Yeah.
I went down that rabbit hole in the same way that with Metal Gear Solid 3, I just, I knew this was taking place in the Cold War. And then I was oh, that's kind of interesting. Excuse me. What the fuck was that?
It was a knock on the door.
I was what the fuck is the Cold War? So I looked into that. And, I feel like that kind of... The ability or the skills that I learned, looking into stuff and being able to sift through, okay, this is the boring shit that I don't care about. Oh, here's the fun facts. Here's the relevant information to me.
Mm-hmm. Here's the fun page on the umbrella gun with the poison dart.
Yeah, literally. You'll understand this because you make YouTube videos as well, but when you're doing research for a video, especially if you're doing philosophy stuff, there's a lot of literature on that, and you'll have to sift through the relevant stuff and the irrelevant stuff and figure out how to apply the relevant stuff that you find to what you're trying to write about. And I learned all of those skills basically from researching into stuff I found interesting in video games.
Right. I mean, learning about the Cold War itself is one of the more daunting tasks of history, because the nature of the time in history is about the obfuscation and the hiding of information. So what information is there, and how to suss out what can we know is true versus what is just false information that was put out is hard.
On paper, if you're a kid and you want to learn about war and stuff, what you're looking for the big bloody battles. You're looking for Hannibal crossing through the Alps, fucking elephants and shit. You want to hear about that kind of stuff. And the Cold War...
By the way, thank you for referencing the Punic Wars. They're my favorite wars. But
of all the wars.
Yes, they're my favorite wars. Because, if the North African coalition had defeated Rome in its early days, none of the shiz would be here in the way that it is now.
It's weird.
None of it.
It's weird how, all... our entire lives basically hinged on everyone else's actions thousands and thousands of years ago.
It's the butterfly effect.
I know, man. That's some Until Dawn shit right there. Boom.
So
What the fuck
I'll
was
give
I
you a
saying?
moment
I'm
if you
having
need it.
No, we were talking about Metal Gear Solid 3.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
No, I've lost it. We were talking about
I mentioned the difficulty of studying specifically the Cold War.
Oh, yeah. And I was saying that, like, the Cold War is like, you'd think that wouldn't be the kind of war that a kid would be interested in learning in, because it is a war where famously no battles took place. Nothing fucking happened. Right. It's all politics.
There was almost no, like, singular big culminating event. There's no juicy action story to latch onto.
The Cold War is like a bunch of stuff almost happening for like 30 years. Yes. And like, you know, again, that's a hard pitch.
Right.
But, you know, because I was so interested in a video game, I started learning about that, and that taught me how to learn about stuff. Back in 2016, I wanted to build, like, a gaming PC, which is, like, it's an intimidating thing. I thought it was an intimidating thing to do anyway, because, like, they're
still intimidating.
Yeah,
as someone who hasn't done it, it's still intimidating.
It's fucking scary, man, because, like, they're so expensive, and, like, some parts don't go with other parts, and if you fuck something up, you could, like, that could be a mistake that costs you several $100 or euro or whatever it is you're spending, rubles. And, like, I feel like when I had to, like, tackle that challenge, I wasn't too intimidated by it, because, like, I knew how to do my research from learning how to catch all the Pokemon. Does that make sense? Yeah. From like, you know, I knew how to research things. I knew how to learn about it.
Right.
And I don't know if that's like, I don't know if I'm reaching at that Metal Gear Solid educated me to educate myself. But,
well, no, I mean, the benefit of tangential learning is that it is self-motivated. It's an intrinsic value that you get from engaging with something that rewards you extrinsically, like the pleasure of playing a game. And so I kind of want to ask to the second question of the interview, how does the game teach the lesson? Which, other than just the game being extremely cool and the setting being fascinating, was there anything you can remember about playing Metal Gear Solid 3 that was like a tipping point that pushed you and said, I need to know more about that, and that led you down the rabbit hole?
So that is where the questioning falls apart a little bit, because my answer almost like refuses the implication. My answer for question 1 refuses the implication of question 2.
Oh no!
Yeah, because Metal Gear Solid 3 doesn't go into any of that stuff. It's a game where there's a guy and he shoots lightning out of his hands, and there's a tank that shoots nukes for some reason, and like it's all fiction. But the point I wanted to make was that, like, that doesn't matter.
I see. Can you elaborate on that more?
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of just rehashing myself, so I'm sorry.
Go ahead, rehash away.
But it's not so much that, like, the video game was about a thing that I wanted to learn about. It was that the video game sparked an interest in something that I didn't know I wanted to learn about.
Right. So it was more like it created something of a... we said it when talking about, you know, Kratos and Norse mythology. It created a mythic, almost magical quality about the era for you. And
I wouldn't even say that. It's just like, man, how to fucking explain it? It was just maybe that is a good way of putting it. I don't know. It sparked an interest.
Right.
That I think that's, like, in as plain English as I can put it, is it made me want to know about something. And, like, I feel like if you're doing that with, like I said, if you're doing that with, like, Dark Souls, if you want to know who the fuck Artorias of the Abyss was, that makes you a nerd and a loser and an idiot and a dumb brain. But if you want to know what started World War One. That makes you an intellectual and an historian and a very clever man. Like it's just the difference between like, is it real life lore or is it fictional lore?
Right. On either side, it's still lore because the practice of history is ultimately, to a certain extent, the practice of telling stories about what happened. And if it's a magical mythic worldview that tells stories of how the things happened and how they came to form, we call it mythos, we call it culture. And if it's a story attempting to be as accurate about the actual events of the past as possible, we call it history.
I mean, it's just this thin difference between fiction and reality, isn't it?
Yeah, or at least an attempted one.
Yeah.
How much of our history is a fiction we are telling ourselves? Whose narrative do you believe? Is the winner always on the right side?
Up is green, down is white. Lasagna is just spaghetti flavored cake. Nothing is real.
Lasagna, I think.
Oh, do you have a fun fact for lasagna as well?
Lasagna, I believe, is actually just a crustless, multi-layered pizza.
Whoa. With bolognese. Yeah. And pasta.
And pasta. Yeah, and
so
muffins are cakes.
You're getting into dangerous territory here, man.
Hot dogs are a sandwich.
But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, just fucking I think I might be the stupidest person I know.
All right, Catholic guilt coming up, but let's hear it.
And so it made me feel good to be like, oh, I'm interested in something that, like, you know, people would consider, like, I guess, how would you put
book
it?
smarts?
Like, yeah, I guess like that. It's something
creditable.
Something applicable even.
Some clout even.
Yeah, something that isn't like, you know, oh, I can name all 151 Pokemon. Like who fucking cares? But if you can say stuff about history or mythology, you can almost trick people into thinking that you're not an idiot.
You know, tricking people into thinking you're not an idiot is the first step to becoming not an idiot.
Or the last step in becoming an idiot who convinces people that he's not an idiot.
Yeah, true. If
like
you convince
Socrates,
yourself...
boom. Shots fucking fired, dude. Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm pretty sure he went to the grave thinking he was stupid.
Or did he go to the grave knowing that he wanted you to think that he thought was stupid?
Oh my gosh, who knows? He still drank the poison when he had entirely the option to just get up and walk away.
What was his, what did Socrates... Was he one of the lads who drank mercury trying to turn it into gold?
No.
What did he...
So Socrates was a retiled. Yes, he had tile pasted on him again. He was a retired soldier in the army of Athens, of the Delian League, and he got himself... Well, not the Delian League. I think maybe that formed after his service. Anyways, He was a soldier. He rose to fame in Athens for his military service, and as was custom of the time, because Athens was the maritime power of the world, it was the center of trade for most things crossing the Mediterranean. Educated people would go there to give speeches on the streets to, you know, educate about how the city should be built and what changes should be made politically. This is like the soapbox thing where it started, and people would become impressed, and then these same people who were street orators would then hold classes, you know, private lectures to people to give them an education. Because you have to remember, this is before the time of colleges and schools. This was still apprenticeships, and the idea of a university would, you know, come a few years later, a couple decades later, starting with, I believe, the symposiums, sort of, which were just like parties to drink and talk some more, would expand into a more public affair.
How does this relate into him dying, though?
No, we're getting there. Don't worry. You need the context, because you need to know that not only was he famous, but he was publicly vocal and controversial, in that he would essentially approach or be approached by famous orators or politicians, who he would then use the Socratic method on, incessant questioning to see if they can create or say specifically their argument with premises and a conclusion in a concise way and have them make sense. But the Socratic method
started the first debate club, I guess.
Basically, yeah. But the thing with the Socratic method is that there's always something else to question. There's always another question to ask. The issue is never fully settled. The wisdom comes from having the conversation at all, not for settling on a specific idea. And powerful politicians started seeing this as, you are making me look like a fool in front of my people.
I fucking love how masturbatory philosophy is.
Oh, it is. It is 100%. And getting people trained out of that is, or at least just slightly trained out of that, is like how you get new people interested in philosophy. Because if you just have fun with it too much, you make people mad. And
at some point you have to stop asking why, I guess.
Yeah, you do. I don't want to, but you do. And the big problem, though, is that while Socrates was making all of these old fogies who were really self-absorbed and had a huge ego about themselves because of their position in society and their reputation as an intelligent person, it became extra painful when the children of these politicians and these famous orators started going to Socrates for education on rhetoric and how to form an argument and the nature of truth and all these other things which were important to them at the time. Particularly discussions on conflicts between society and the state versus one's own nature or non-law based nature as a person. As an animal. And these children then started doing exactly the same thing Socrates did to their parents. Basically showing them up, being like, I can out-argue my dad, who is...
Yeah, you never want as a parent.
Yeah, who is a senator. And he's like, wait, I'm a senator. I can't have my child showing that he has a better understanding of politics than I do. And so basically they took Socrates to trial for the corruption of the youth and the worshipping of false gods. Those were his two accusations.
Which
and his
false gods was he allegedly worshipping?
The ones that weren't Greek.
But was he suggesting another set, or was it just like, hey, maybe gods aren't there?
Nope. He did none of that. He was very much, and we know this only through a few sources from Aristophanes' The Clouds, which makes fun of Socrates mercilessly, and Plato's 5 Dialogues. But Socrates was extremely devout to Athens and to the gods of Athens, from a nationalistic perspective. He was as into Athens as the craziest nationalistic radical is into their country today.
It kind of sounds like Socrates was the first rock star. And the kids were coming back to the house and say, hey, check out this new fucking album I just got, and it's Socrates musing about stuff. And they're like, this is the devil's music.
Pretty, not too far off of a comparison. And Socrates' only defense for himself was that he didn't need to defend himself. He was doing exactly that which makes Athens better. And because he loves Athens and the gods of Athens, and because the Oracle of Delphi told him that he was the smartest man in Athens, and that made everyone else real pissed off, because essentially the god Apollo said, yeah, Socrates is the smartest in their culture. And Socrates said, the only reason that is the case is because I don't know anything. The famous Socrates quote is, the only thing I know is that I know nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And so he's like, I'm smart because I'm a huge idiot and don't know a single thing. And because of what the Oracle of Delphi said, then that means everyone else who says they're smart is even stupider than knowing nothing.
It is,
so that's kind of an insult.
It is one of those things where, like, I remember the first time. This is like has nothing to do with anything, but I remember the first time.
No, we're out of games. This is just for fun. Thanks for sticking around, folks.
Yeah, everyone's fucking tuned out 40 minutes ago, man.
Who knows?
It's just us here now. I remember the first time I was in secondary school and someone described themselves to me as intelligent, and I was like, I don't think I've met a single person I thought was intelligent who called themselves intelligent before.
Right. Intelligent people learn quickly to stop calling themselves intelligent, because the first thing you learn is that people will get very mad at you if you tell them you're smart.
Here's the dilemma, though. The dilemma is that if an idiot is like, hey, sorry guys, I'm an idiot, then people go, oh, you're a genius. And I'm like, no.
Because self-knowledge is the truest knowledge, my friend.
It is one of those, like, like, I'm an idiot. That's what an idiot would say. Or that's what a genius would say.
It's what a genius would say if he didn't want you to know he was a genius.
And saying that you're a genius is what an idiot would say, unless it's like, if Einstein was like, no, I am actually, like, literally a genius. You'd be like, you fucking moron.
Yeah, that's how people would react. But yeah, to finish Socrates' story, eventually it was his death sentence was put to a vote. And they basically said, okay, well, we find you guilty of corruption of the youth and worshiping false gods, because we don't like how our children are treating us and thinking they're better than us, even if they are. And so we're going to give you an option. Either you can be ostracized, so you have to leave Athens forever and never come back, which, by the way, is kind of odd, because the way ostracism worked in Athens was that it would always be a vote between two people, and the citizens would have to cast lots to decide which one of them would be sent away forever. And it was never just, okay, you're ostracized, off you go.
Sure.
It would always have to be a choice. For Socrates, it was, you're either going to be ostracized, you're not going to be put to vote against someone else, or you have to drink this hemlock poison and kill yourself.
Rock and roll. Let's fucking do it. In for a penny, in for a pound.
And Socrates said, I'll take the poison because I love my city, and this is the only place I would ever want to be. And this city has raised me and supported me and given me my life, so who am I to say that they can't take it away?
Socrates literally said, if you strike me down, I shall become stronger than you could possibly imagine, and then turned into a Jedi ghost. That is the facts of the matter.
Yes. But it happened in a really slow and uncool way, because hemlock poison is the worst way to kill someone by poison.
What does it do? Is that one of those ones that, like, shuts down your liver?
Kinda. It's just really slow, right?
Yeah,
it's extremely slow and not very painful, because it numbs you as it goes. But
doesn't sound so bad.
But that's the thing. Taking a lethal dose of hemlock poison isn't guaranteed to kill you. You have to help it by elevating your heart rate and, like, moving around a bunch, walking and, like,
Jesus.
jostling yourself. So Like, if he just took the poison and laid there still, he might have been fine. And then they would have to try again.
So he had to fucking, like, do a
He
lap
had to
of the
get
gas.
up and walk around and shake himself a bit and, like, have all of his followers come and say, hey, Socrates, I mean, you know, we got, like, a horse for you. We can just go anytime you want. We can just leave. I've got friends on this island. They have this really nice house. You can stay there. And he's like, no, gonna die. Poison, gonna die.
Yeah, I made up my mind. I can't pussy out now.
Yeah, pretty much. He was a freaking badass.
Commit to the bit.
I mean, the
what I
whole
respect.
legalism argument for why he lets the state kill him for doing nothing wrong, I'm not gonna get down with. I'm black. I'm not gonna let the state decide anything about what is and is not moral for me.
Yeah, even back then, they were still trying to keep you down.
Yeah. All right, so that was an awesome conversation about Metal Gear Solid 3.
That is more than flattering. That was my barely lucid, drugged up on painkillers attempt at rambling at why I like Metal Gear Solid 3.
Nonsense. It was extremely fun.
Thank you. It was educational, I'll say.
All right. Well, before we end it then, we did run a bit longer than I thought we would.
You can cut all of this out.
Absolutely not. Is there anything on your channel that you would like people to check out?
No. My channel is garbage, and you should stay away from it at all costs. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
All right. Well,
just cut it there. Hard cut.
Maybe. All right, but just in case I decide not to, thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you again, Tom, for coming and joining me on this interview series.
I'm sorry I had us ramble on for over 50 minutes.
No, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And I guess there are a bunch of other stuff. There's a bunch of buttons below the video that you can click. Go ahead and check out Tom's channel as well.
Rate, subscribe. Leave a comment down below in the description. Let me know your favorite fucking position. I don't know.
Tuna. Let me know your favorite fish in the comments.
I don't even think that part of the conversation... I don't even think we recorded that. That is a joke that isn't in this video.
Maybe it's not.
That's just, again, it's just for us. No one else is here, man.
Just for us.
Just you and me,
tuna.
Alex.
Just a tuna.
You, me, and a dead tuna.
And a spicy dead tuna.
Everyone's going to be very confused as to what our small talk was before we started recording.
Yes, they will. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Goodbye!